Welcome to the Odd Life Podcast. That's AWED, which stands for Awake, Well, and Empowered. We're here to have conversations to inspire women of all ages to live odd AF. I'm your host, Hallie, and thank you so much for being here. Let's dive in. Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Hallie. I am back this week with a guest. Her name is Sara Stansberry. And Sara and I connected over on Substack. I found her Substack. It's called How to Blow Up Your Life. And I thought, I need to meet this woman for sure. The more I tuned into who she was, what she was writing, what she was talking about, I knew I had to have her on the podcast. Sara's story is very common, but also very unique because of Sara. And I believe that women can hear her story and relate to a lot of what she talks about, in a sense of we go through life a lot of times not living as we're meant to. And it took her blowing up her life to find herself. And that can look different for you. Maybe you're in an unhappy job, a career, whatever. You may be living in the wrong place. You may have to walk away from family of origin. There's a lot of things that are going on in everyone's lives. And this is just one more story to inspire you, to encourage you, to let you know you're not alone. And I hope it gives you the strength that you need, perhaps, to move forward with a really hard decision in your life, whatever it may be. Sara's got a book coming out in the fall. She's got a podcast. She's got her Substack. So I hope you go follow her after this conversation and you learn more about her and what she has to offer, and hopefully get what you need if you were in a tough situation and just need a little extra support to get you to the other side, just like Sara did. With that said, here's my conversation with Sara Stansberry. I'm so excited that you're here. This is my guest, Sara Stansberry. We met kind of through Substack, actually. I found her.
Yeah.
I think it's the title of your Substack actually is what snagged me. And that's what we're going to talk about today It's called How to Blow Up Your Life. And I was like, I got to figure out what this is all about. And so I started reading and I just knew instantly that you were going to be somebody that I needed to talk to. But before we get started on all of that, give the listeners real quick just who you are right now in this moment.
Who is Sara Stansberry? What a great question. First of all, Hallie, thank you so much for having me, because it's just such an honor. It's such an honor to be featured on your show, and your show is really delightful. I love your mug too, Odd AF. I love it, and I love everything that you stand for and that your brand stands for. So I do appreciate the invite. So who am I right now? Like, I feel like that changes every day for all of us, right? Almost. I think that I am still a woman figuring it out. Yeah. I don't think that we ever have it fully figured out. So at this point right now, like you said, I do have a Substack called How to Blow Up Your Life. And I write weekly on that. And I have a book coming out, which is going to be exciting too. Yeah. And I'm a woman figuring this shit out. Yes. Is what this is. I mean, I don't know however else to say it, but we never have it done, and trying to be as authentic as she can. While she's figuring it out.
Yeah. And I think midlife is a great time for all that. We're past the phase of raising the kids and doing all the daily junk. And now we've got this time freedom to explore ourselves. And I think it's a really big question that we're all asking ourselves right now is like, okay, who am I right now in this moment? What do I want to do? And we get to rediscover ourselves, which I think is really, really cool. And I'm sure this is maybe part 2 of what you've had to go through, that discovering yourself is post the blowing up your life. So let's get into that and give us the backstory a little bit before you quote unquote blew up your life. Give us the picture of what life looked like for you or before that moment.
My story kind of starts in what I call my garage door moment. I had 3 little kids. I was married to my first husband. We were living in the right town and our kids were going to the right schools, and I was going to the right church, like all of the things that you do or that we're taught to do as women. And I just was increasingly dissatisfied and frustrated. And I have the story in the book for anybody who wants to hear the whole thing, but an abbreviated version is I'm in my little minivan and I've got all the kids in the car and we're trying to go to school and it's chaotic, and I pull out and the garage door won't close and I just kind of lost it. And you know those moments, right, where you just like you've just fucking had enough and you
Yeah.
just lose it. So I had my adult temper tantrum at this garage door and get back in the car. And I think it was a true realization moment for me because I look back at my kids and their little car seats. I mean, they were young. One of them probably wasn't even in school yet. And they're looking away, looking out the window, pretending they're watching their movie or whatever. And I just realized this isn't the person that I really want to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
What is going on here?
Yeah.
That this is the person that I am right now. What is going on here? And that moment really began an unraveling of me beginning to really unpack and put under a microscope like all the different facets of my life, my marriage, my role as a mother, my role as a daughter, my role as a friend, the way I felt about church and God and faith, and who I was as a woman in this society. And so I began to put it kind of all under a microscope. And here's the deal, everything really did fall apart. Some of it was already falling apart and I didn't realize it. You know, some of it I blew up myself because the stories that I was telling myself were no longer working.
Sure.
The things I thought were true weren't true. That, you know, there were lots of things I didn't understand about my life that were true. Everything in my life changed. And it doesn't mean that if you choose to go this route, that everything in your life is going to change. You are the decider of that, what stays and what goes. But for me, I decided that I wasn't going to live a half-hearted life. My children were a huge, huge influence on that, or they were a catalyst because being a mom to me was so important and giving them the best start that I could was so important. And I realized I didn't want them to get to a point in their lives where they were 35 years old and were chronically dissatisfied because of the choices that they had made. And so the story goes very deep. Some of it is very surfacey, but some of it goes very deep. And that's how life is.
Well, you think about the old trope of wait till the kids get older and then people get divorced. Like, let's get through this with the kids. You're doing it at a time when everything for them is being developed. The way they see marriage, the way they see love, the way they see life, their mother.
Yeah.
To do this at an age when they were young actually is super admirable because now you got to change that direction for them, that narrative for them. They're not going to see their mom be someone that she's not, nor she's not taking care of herself. She's not standing up for what she really wants. You know, you gave them a great example of what it looks like to choose yourself. And so many women our age, especially, we did not grow up probably with that. I know I didn't grow up with that role model of somebody that chose herself in a healthy way, that chose to live a strong, courageous, and authentic life. And so reinventing that for your kids at that point is so huge because you caught it before they got to kind of create that framework.
Yeah, Hallie. And I think too, I wrote a piece early on. I've been blogging like off and on for over a decade. I wrote a piece early on called Why Staying Together for the Kids is Such a Bad Idea.
Yes, yes.
Because you're teaching them about relationships and you're teaching them what's important in a relationship and what's not important. And I realized what I was teaching my kids is that it's okay to not be a priority in my own relationship.
That's right.
And that wasn't a legacy that I was really willing to pass down. I firmly believe that the best gift that you can give your kids is to become the healthiest version of yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you can't do it for yourself initially, doing it for your kids, this is what I've always done is if it's hard to make that choice for myself, think of the aftermath on my kids. Like, how will this will impact my children? Whether it's the food we eat in the house to how we show up in love and in marriage, relationships. If I'm having a hard time doing it for myself, I know that my kids are watching and I need to show up for them. And then eventually I can get that confidence. And I think our generation too, whatever household you grew up in, you're reading the room, you're trying to be invisible, to stay out of the fray, all those things we learn as coping mechanisms. doesn't serve us later as we're trying to show up then for ourselves. And I think if I hadn't created that muscle yet for myself, then at least I have my kids as the motivation, and then I can hopefully grow that for myself at some point. That's where you have to start. But like you said, by choosing yourself, you are showing up for your kids in a way that is so, so important. I think that article that you wrote about staying together for the kids is such a tired story. And the kids see right through that. They all know what's going on. I knew growing up that things weren't good. No one was faking it that good to pull the wool over my eyes that things were fantastic. I saw it every day. So it's not even like it's a worthy cause at this point.
It's probably not. I think it depends on what your priorities are, which I think I had to take a really strong look at what my priorities really were, because a lot of people live their lives for the outside gaze, right? What are people going to think of me? What are the neighbors going to think of me? What are they going to think about our family? What are they going to think about da 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 da? And what I realized is that nobody really gives a shit what you are doing. They're too worried about their own stuff. And if they are worried about what you're doing, get new friends. I just feel like I had to really take a hard look at my life's priorities, about the people who were my true friends, the people who could see me as human without judgment, which is what we all want, right? The relationships that I had, can we just see each other as human beings that are lovely and flawed and predictable and unpredictable and. So it was a massive life shift that I undertook.
Next question. What did you encounter after you detonated everything?
So I'll tell you that part of the catalyst of all of this is that we owned a business that was going under and ended up losing all of our money. I would not recommend 0 out of 5 stars.
No kidding.
Like, it was happening simultaneously. And the timing of it, honestly, it's hard looking back in retrospect, because in your brain, you have this idea of, oh, this happened and this happened and this happened. And it may have not all happened exactly in the time frame that I remember it. But I do know that I was inputting everything like, oh, I'm feeling dissatisfied here. What's going on? What I found out is that I didn't know how I felt about anything. Not one thing.
Yeah. Oh gosh, I relate to that so much. Yeah.
I didn't know how to feel my feelings. I didn't even know what my feelings were about things, because I was so used to being told how I was supposed to feel about something that my true feelings were like shoved down, right? Which is why I was exploding everywhere.
That's right.
Because you can only live like that for so long before it just doesn't work anymore. And I think I had been taught for so long to ignore, shove down, invalidate. My feelings weren't validated. And so I learned to invalidate my own feelings and how I felt about things, and especially the uncomfortable feelings. Like, if I didn't like something, I wasn't really allowed to not like something. So if I didn't like something, I couldn't just say, I don't like that. And I had to pretend like that wasn't happening. And that happened for a multitude of reasons. It wasn't just because my family of origin, it was everything together. It wasn't like my parents were terrible or this and that, because they weren't. I was just a normal person with a relatively normal upbringing. I mean, everybody has their shit they deal with. Nothing like super extraordinary happened, but it's the messages you get from society and your teachers and the institutions and your family, like all of it. I got the lesson early on. Oh, I'm not allowed to have these feelings that make everybody else uncomfortable or whatever. Like, I learned early on that I was responsible for people's comfort. And so what this journey helped me really uncover this terrible, crazy, weird disease called codependency, which I don't know if it's a disease truly, but I do think that they're learning now that it's a trauma response. The idea of codependency on site. I don't know if you follow on site, but they do a lot of really great work around codependency recovery.
Yeah.
They've written some beautiful articles where it really explains exactly what it is. But so this whole thing for me was a journey of really uncovering how insanely codependent I was. The fact that I would take responsibility for other people's feelings, take responsibility for their behavior, their well-being, managing their emotions, making sure people weren't disappointed in me, because then I would feel bad about myself. It's something that I uncovered, and it's something I'm still uncovering. I don't think the work is ever really done. You just get used to doing it.
Yeah.
And more satisfied than yourself.
Yeah, I get that. I'm so excited to introduce you to a new podcast by my friend Alicia Hill and her co-host Liam Martin. They're sharing what life is like with OCD through funny stories and real-life examples, as well as coping tools. If OCD is part of your life, whether personally or through loved ones, this podcast is for you. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss an episode. You can check out the link in my show notes. Now, back to the show. So then you're discovering these things. What did that do to your community, the people around you? The family business has fallen apart. You're now in this kind of financial situation. You're dealing with this divorce. You're now living apart. What did your community look like? Or was there a community left? Like, how did you handle that part of the aftermath?
That was kind of rough. And there are a few factors that played into it. The first is that I stopped drinking.
Oh, okay.
That was part of my recovery. I realized that, alcohol addiction had been a theme throughout my family history, and my mom had gotten sober when I was a teenager. She had done that through AA. And for anybody who understands addiction and recovery, there's the physically getting sober part, and then there's the getting healthy part.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. So
yeah, totally.
And the getting sober part is a part that can be done in a finite amount of time. Like, depending upon where your addiction is, you learn different coping mechanisms. You may have to withdraw physically from something, depending upon how far advanced it is. But then after you get sober, you need to continue to do the work to understand what came before the substance use. And that really is the real work. So I had understood that sobriety was a thing that could happen from her. And I understood that because she had told me growing up, like, this can be hereditary. People can be predisposed to having addictive personalities. And this is something that you might want to watch because you're coming from this lineage and this is what's happened. So I had an awareness of that because of her. And when everything started falling apart and I realized, like, oh God, I think everything's going to shake up here, I made a choice to stop drinking. It was just a temporary choice at first because I realized if I'm going to be here for my kids, really be here, I don't want to be the one where it's 5 o'clock somewhere. And it wasn't unusual to have a bottle of wine open on the counter. It was not unusual to go through 2 bottles of wine a week or 3 bottles of wine a week or 1 bottle of wine a night and have beer in the fridge. And, like, can I just have a drink now? Can I have a drink while I make dinner? Can I have a drink after I put the kids to bed, kind of a thing? So I stopped drinking. And when you stop drinking, the people who still drink around you, sometimes it makes them uncomfortable. And so I had to get okay with that because it is really hard to lose something that you think is bringing value to your life. And I had a group of moms that I really liked hanging out with, but our connection was to go out for a drink after the PTA meeting and go out for this after that. And all of a sudden, I kind of stopped being invited to that. It's not like anybody was mean to me, but I did stop getting invited places. And that hurt.
Yeah.
That hurt.
I feel that.
There are people in your life that aren't going to like it because the way that you relate to them is changing, because the way that you're relating to yourself is changing, and the way that you're relating to your world is changing. Also, when you first start changing, you might not do it with that much grace. You
Mm-hmm.
might do it with some
Mm-hmm.
judgment or trying to get used to the place where you're trying to go, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. So I'm sure my transition out of certain things was imperfect. And the people who wanted to be around me looked different. And the people I wanted to be around me looked different too, because you begin to notice
Yeah.
like so and so, every time we go out, like somebody else has to drive her home. And then you're like, okay, maybe I don't want to hang out with so and so anymore, but then I'm judging them. So, like, I had to reconcile all of those
Yeah.
things in my life and then really dig deep and kind of be okay with where I was, who I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to be. So I came up with this concept that I call creative destruction. So there are three questions I really began asking myself in every situation. How do I feel? Because, that was new for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do I need? And who do I want to be in this moment?
Mm-hmm. Love that.
And at first, in each of these iterations, at first it would take me so long to figure out the answers to those questions. I would have to sit and journal and be like, how do I feel? I don't know. Or I have
Mm-hmm.
a myriad of feelings. There are a lot of different things I'm feeling and struggling with the dichotomy of that, of like everything coming out at once was really hard because when you stop drinking alcohol, guess what? When
Yeah.
you get really aware of how much you're numbing
Yeah.
and you stop numbing, things can get intense. I mean,
Yeah.
your feelings that you've shoved down and you've
That's
been
right.
able to keep them shoved down because of the numbing begin to all come out. So then you have all kinds of feelings about all kinds of things
That's right.
that you never really knew were there. And so that's how I made sense of it with this little process. And I don't think I would ever call myself an alcoholic, though I never went
Yeah.
back to drinking alcohol. And I'm so happy that I didn't. I realized after about 90 days that what I was gaining was my emotional sobriety.
Absolutely.
My moods were not up and down and up and down and up and down all the time. I wasn't exploding. I was able to really analyze how I was feeling and then learning tools through therapy. And I started going to codependency recovery. So, like Al Anon meetings
Sure.
and adult children of alcoholics, adult children of dysfunctional family, doing that work, which helped give me some tools of how to cope with my feelings that I had been shutting down. And
Yeah.
so what I realized is that I wasn't necessarily an alcoholic, but I was an equal opportunity medicator. That's what I called
Yes.
myself.
Yes.
Because I would drink until that looked too familiar. I never did drugs. I was always afraid to do drugs. But
Yeah. Yeah.
then I would eat until that became too uncomfortable. And then I would shop and then I would watch TV and then I would da 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 da. And I would just
Mm-hmm.
keep going, going, going. Busyness, keeping my calendar super full. So I never had a chance to stop
Yeah.
and really feel the thing that I
Good stuff.
was needing
Yes.
to feel.
Yeah, totally relate to that. So there's multiple things happening. You've changed the dynamic of your family. The friends you had no longer around. You also then
Right.
change your daily habits, not drinking anymore. That changes everything. I think
Hmm.
the hardest thing, what I have seen, is when you make big changes like this, and you alluded to this earlier, is that people aren't necessarily ready to face their own stuff. So rather than
Mm.
be around you and be forced to face it, they avoid
Hmm.
and they walk
Hmm.
away for whatever reason. And that just is what it is. It's
Yeah.
just the nature of being a human being, I
Hmm.
think, at this point. And it is not for us to judge. Like, you do you, you have your journey.
Hmm.
But at the same time, in a really hard time of your life, you want your people around you. And it
I
sucks to
know.
find out that the thing that you guys had in common maybe was the drinking or maybe was being friends as a couple. But to not have an emotional bond, when you take things away that are superficial, it sucks to realize, oh, wait, maybe there wasn't a whole lot there. And now here we are going through this really big, hard thing, trying to figure out who's around me now that I can lean on. And sometimes there's nobody. And that's sort of the hard reality of what you're going to have to go through. And just, okay, eventually I'm going to find my people. But right now, I'm doing this solo. Is that what you found? Minus maybe the codependent people that you found in Al Anon. Did you find support there?
I did. I feel like I was probably lucky in this.
Mm-hmm.
And I had some people that were in my life through the church, but we kind of started questioning, like, okay, well, that doesn't make sense to me, and this doesn't make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then we
Mm-hmm.
realized, I don't think that we're very emotionally healthy. It all kind of happened at one time. And it kind of broke into a very small group of women, like four,
Yeah.
including me, who were like, I don't even know if we were healthy enough to even say that we're not emotionally healthy. Does that make sense? Like,
Yes.
I don't even know if we were aware enough to be able to state it.
Totally.
But I wrote a Substack essay on it recently. There was one friend who had gotten sober through AA. So she was sober. She'd been
Mm-hmm.
sober for a long time. And so she had gone through the program. So she understood what that
Sure.
was like.
Sure.
And she was like, you guys, what if we skipped the Bible study and started doing Melanie Beattie's Codependent No More? What do you guys
Mm,
think about that? And we decided, all right, this is what we're going to do. So I did have a couple of women around me to be there and
mm-hmm.
support one another. I mean, I was going through a lot of changes because by this point, I think I had decided to get divorced or we were separated. I told my mom, I was like, we're going all in, Mom. We're going to do this codependency recovery. She's like, well, I hope you enjoy having two friends because that's all you're
That's
going to have.
right.
Like, as you go through this. And she wasn't wrong. And
Mhm.
as I was learning how to talk to people differently and stand up for myself and learn my boundaries, figure out what my boundaries
Yeah.
were, even. I
Yeah.
did have one person, like a mentor, who I would have to call for the stupidest shit. I swear to God, I would call her. I'd be like, okay, I was supposed to bake cookies for the PTA, but I can't do it. I'm too emotionally tired. And what do I
Yeah.
do? I didn't even know how to do that. Like, to say, I get that I said I could do it and now I can't do it. I'm so sorry. And just let
Mm-hmm.
that be it. I was so unequipped. I couldn't even do that. And so she would be the one that I would call and I would say, I can't do this anymore. What do I do? And she'd be like, you
Yeah.
call them or send them an email and say, I
Yeah.
am so sorry. Be kind, be clear, and be done.
Yeah.
Don't go into it. Offer to buy the cookies if you need to or whatever, but just explain that you're not going to be baking the 50 cookies that need to
Exactly.
happen. And that's a really small example, but
Sure.
there were other bigger examples. I do think that as women, we're just not taught how to say no and be okay with it. And a lot of people had a problem with that. Another thing is I had to start working again and I wasn't really available. There were some women that had a problem with that because they were used to me being available. But I think when you're going through changes like this, having one person can help so much.
So
And
much. Yeah.
I'm so grateful that I had one person. And it's been a huge catalyst for why I do the work I do.
Before we get into that, what are some big things that you've learned about yourself since all this has happened? I think that's the positive side effect of all of this, that, the destruction of what life used to look like for you and moving on.
Mm-hmm.
There are
Mm-hmm.
the good things that come out of this. So what are the things that were positive that you learned about yourself that you are so happy that now on the other side of this, you got to discover about who you are?
I feel like it's almost like an unearthing. They've been
Mm-hmm.
there all along. It's almost like I've just become more of myself. I like her.
Yeah.
I bent and erased this true version of myself for so long to try to get acceptance and fit in. And I've learned that doesn't really work for me. That may work for some
Mm-hmm.
people. It just does not work for me. The biggest thing that I learned is that I could trust my intuition
Yes. Yes.
and that is enough, right? I can trust myself
Yeah.
to know the right thing to do for me, to understand that I do have an inner guidance and inner wisdom. And it's okay to follow that, like, regardless of what the circus around me is saying.
So I think that's really hard sometimes as women, especially in these crazy busy lives we have. Now you're working, you've got kids, whatever.
Hmm.
It's easy not to hear yourself. Well, how did you learn to hear your own voice?
Part of it is I'm not that great at meditation. I'll just be honest with
Hmm.
you. I'm thinking all the time.
Yeah.
So, anybody who needs to hear this, You can do this work even if you're not super woo woo, I promise you. Really, I started with employing the three questions I was telling you about. Like, how do I feel?
Yeah.
Even just sitting down with a journal and honoring yourself in that way, writing your feelings down, getting them out, and then what do I need?
Mhm.
And listening. But I think at first, you definitely sit down and you just get quiet. I talk about in the book, the first thing you need to do is like slow your life down when you're
Mhm.
making big changes like this. And just when you think you've got your calendar into a manageable place, just cut that in half. Just do it. I mean, I got to a point basically, if I wasn't keeping somebody alive, if the tasks that I was doing wasn't keeping my children alive or myself alive, we weren't doing it. That's
Right.
just where I was
Yeah.
until I got used to a new normal for myself. And so I think that leaving yourself as much white space as you can. And there is a component, I think, in life that is, for me, was centered around some kind of faith. Maybe I didn't look at God the way I had in previous ways in my life, but
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
did have some sort of concept of I can't, God can, I think I'll let him or her or them. That helped a lot. Just the giving it over of these are all my feelings. This is what I need. And deciding who I was going to be in this moment. Am
Mhm.
I going to be the one who explodes? Am I going to be the one who internalizes, which I vacillated in between? Like I'd either
Mhm.
explode or I would just take on everybody's feelings, pain, disappointment, whatever. But just asking yourself those basic questions can really bring your intuition out. It's such an easy way to
Yeah.
do it. And you'll get to a point where it becomes rote and you can do it while you're making breakfast.
Right? The ideas come in the shower or
Mhm.
you're doing something that's kinda
Mhm.
mindless. If
Yeah.
tuning in when those things like you're doing something mindless, mowing the yard, not filling it with a podcast or an audiobook, maybe just being with yourself in that moment
Mhm.
and letting
Yes.
it just drop in, whatever that
Yes.
thing needs to come in. And I think sometimes
Yes.
it's letting that white space happen, letting the quiet happen. And I think we're always trying to fill a void of space and time. When we go
Mhm.
on a walk, we're putting a podcast in, or we're going with a friend and we're chatting. How many times do we go and be with ourselves for a minute? Even just sitting outside in the front patio with a cup of coffee and just
Mhm.
listening to the birds, even if it's 5 minutes,
Mhm.
that's when things drop in that I need to hear. Maybe there's something jumbled in my mind, a problem I'm dealing with, or something's happening. And maybe it's 2 weeks later, but in that quiet moment, it clicks. You figure
Mhm.
that thing out. You'll
Mhm.
feel it in your body when things feel like they're the right
Yes.
thing. And when things feel off, your body lets you know as well. I totally relate to asking, what do I want? How
Mhm.
basic can I possibly get? But I never asked myself that question ever. The reason I say that is I had a relative that started over at the age of 80 in another relationship and saw his demeanor completely change from the first to the second. And I
Mm.
was at the time 40 years old. And I thought, okay, I do not want to be 80 years old and realizing I did not live the life I wanted. And so I started asking my
Mm.
questions like, what do I want? And that's when my boundaries started to show up and I started to realize what I liked, what I didn't like. I ignored it for so long. So when you said that, I'm just like, yes, I totally get that. And I think a lot of us do that, thinking we're the good girls, thinking that we're just easygoing, we're going with the flow. And in the meantime, we have no idea that we're losing ourselves in the process.
That's the shame
Mhm.
because the losing of the self, it's really tragic
It is.
when you think of
It
it. I
is.
mean, there's so much that we sacrifice as women for the
Yes.
kind of quote unquote greater good, but the greater good benefits when we show up as our full selves. My children benefit when I show up as my
Hmm.
full and complete self. And only the people taking advantage of me benefit from me shrinking.
That's right. I wanted to get into the work that you're doing now, how this has all
Hmm.
shaped what you do today. I mean, you've got your Substack,
Yeah.
you are coaching, you've got this book coming out,
Yeah.
you've got a podcast, you've got a lot going on. Tell us about the framework of what you do and how it all came to be.
So I think I've always been a writer. My careers have been writing adjacent, and let's be honest. As women, sometimes we don't really have careers if we choose to have a family and want to be home with the family. So I've had a series of jobs, but they've been
Jobs.
good jobs, which is great. But those are choices that I made. I don't regret that, but I do think that that is the reality of the lives of a lot of women. So
Totally.
I've started a blog called
Mm-hmm.
Unchained about, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago,
Yeah.
and picked it back up again about 3 years ago as How to Blow Up Your Life. And I coach women. I'm a certified life coach. I essentially help women live the lives they were meant to. So
Yeah.
I've got some group coaching programs that are going to be opening up here soon. I write a weekly Substack, and I've got a book coming out in the fall called How to Blow Up Your Life in 3 Simple Steps. And it essentially talks about the shaking, the breaking, and then the making of your new life. It's
Oh,
broken down into
yeah.
3 sections.
I love that.
I walk you through my process, what that looked like for me, and the different nuanced situations that happened in my life, which it's just another flavor of what probably every woman goes through.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing about my story that necessarily is extraordinary, except for it is. No, just kidding.
It
But
is.
we all have extraordinary stories. And I believe firmly that we heal through each other's stories when we can
Yeah.
see ourselves in other people's stories. It just gives us permission to be the people that we were created to be. And my work centers around my desire to help people feel less alone
Yeah.
that
Yep.
want to walk down this path and
Yep.
who are interested in breaking patterns that aren't
Yep.
serving them anymore and
Mm-hmm.
shaking it up so that they can live the lives they were meant to.
That's why I do the podcast as well, because I
Hmm.
think it's just letting people see other people's stories and go, hey, see, they've been through
Hmm.
some shit too, and you're not
Hmm.
alone. We see
Yeah.
you, and we're all here
Hmm.
together. I think for so long, I prided myself on my independence and how great I could do things on my own.
Hmm.
And I realized I cheated myself on creating a community of women around me to help me be the best version of myself, having a support system, people that you can reach out to. And
Yeah.
I think now in midlife, especially now being an empty nester, the kids aren't around, there's no distractions. It's
Hmm.
just me, myself, and I most of the
Yeah.
day. And then you realize, oh, wait, there's something that's missing here. And so I'm
Yeah.
also on this friendship project right now. I'm going
Mm.
down this path of gathering people in my life that I feel like are women living awake,
Hmm.
well, and empowered, because I need that around me to support
Yeah.
the role that I'm trying to fulfill in my life in this place now with people that have
Hmm.
already done the work,
Hmm.
or they're right behind me and I can maybe help them, but I need
Yeah.
them to be somewhat
Yeah.
close in this mindset.
Right.
A coaching group will be actually a kind of a great place to start if you're looking to find people that are doing the work,
Yeah.
if you can't find them in your daily life.
I have a really strong writing program that I've rolled
Mhm.
out
Oh,
to
nice.
some core groups that just there's something amazing about this open-ended journal prompt and then a witnessing. So you write, but then somebody witnesses you read it. And it's just
Hmm.
so freaking
Wow.
powerful. I just can't even. I've been stunned. And women from all walks of life and all ages too. I've been really shocked at how powerful it is. And so I'm just figuring it out like everyone
Yeah,
else. But I do have a lot of recovery under my belt, and I've been doing this for a long time, and I think I have some wisdom to
I
share.
think
So
so too.
I'm excited for the future and what's to
Yeah.
come, and really where we're going
Yeah.
as these extraordinary. I mean, I just keep finding women like you. They just are extraordinary women. There's so many of us on the path, and I'm excited for the future and what it's going to hold.
Hey friends, want to take a quick second to point out a product that I'm using on a daily basis called Perfect Amino. It's by Body Health and it's one of my favorite supplements. It's composed of pure essential amino acids, the building blocks of protein, in a form and ratio that's up to 99% utilized, but without the caloric impact and without breaking a fast. It's the one protein source that provides the exact ratio of essential amino acids needed by the human body to synthesize new protein and collagen without excess amino acids. I use this product to help me maximize my workouts and hit my protein goals for the day. And now you can get 20% off your order with the link listed at the bottom of my show notes with lots of flavors to choose from, like strawberry, mixed berry, lemon lime, mocha, chocolate, vanilla, and even unflavored if none of those are your jam. And don't miss out on their seasonal option right now, pumpkin spice. And they've got lots of other products too, like creatine, electrolytes, superfood powders, greens powders, and so much more. Again, that's Perfect Amino by Body Health, and you can get 20% off your entire order when you use the link in my show notes. Now, back to the show. I think we're on the
Mm-hmm.
precipice of women coming into their own, all ages,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. Because my daughter's Gen
Mm-hmm.
Z, and I see them, really embracing themselves. I never had that time alone after college. I went right from home life to then college life, sorority life, getting in a relationship, getting married right out of
Mm-hmm.
college. I didn't have time to myself. And I'm seeing more and
Yeah.
more of my daughter and her friends having time with themselves to figure who they
Mm-hmm.
are. And I love that. So I think it's not just midlifers and empty nesters having this awakening. I think it's all ages, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that for women right now. I do. I think it's an awakening and an empowerment era for everybody.
I think so. I think so too. And it is exciting. And I'm so impressed too by the young women. I
Yeah.
agree with you. I've got 6 kids between my husband and
Yeah.
myself, 4 girls, and they really are extraordinary. It's impressive what
Yeah.
I'm seeing out of the young people. So
Yeah. And I love the
I,
fact
you
that
know,
you've gotten all the work that you've done. And now here you are remarried and life is great. You're living at
yes,
a completely different place. You went from living in Florida to now
yes,
living in New York City. So your whole life is
that is right.
completely
Hmm.
changed, which is so exciting. I'm looking forward to following your journey and guiding people your way. When is the book coming out again? Yeah.
Yeah, in the fall-ish. I don't, if you've ever written a book, it's
It's never
time for
ever
the
quite
faint of
the
heart. I think we've pushed the pub date like 6 times now, but I think so the ball is in my court. I'll just let everyone
sure.
know. Like I've got a few little tweaks to make. As soon as I
Sure.
do that, then I'll return it in, and then we will put a pub date. But that's what we're shooting for. So that's
Got
the
it.
plan right now. Yeah,
Oh my gosh, I love it. Well,
yeah,
I'm
it's
going to put everything
exciting.
in the show notes of where to find you, your
Okay,
Substack,
thank you,
your
Holly.
podcast, all of that stuff. The one thing I want to ask before you leave is what is one thing right now that's helping you feel awake, well, and empowered?
Oh, I like that question. I do think that there is something about the current relationship that I'm in with my husband that is really supportive in a way that I've never experienced before. And that is dovetailing in kind of to what you were talking about with community. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really beginning to lean in to this idea of not having to do everything by myself, of having a group of supporters around me, letting people in. This is a different topic and we're ending, but call it the curse of the capable woman.
Mm-hmm.
She can get a lot done and she doesn't count on a lot of people.
That's right.
Learning how to do that.
Yeah,
And it's amazing to me how the more you learn how to let go and count on people and rely on people, how much your inner world really can open up.
I agree totally. Because you cannot have a relationship with somebody unless you're vulnerable and share the hard things that you're
Yes.
going through. Because if you
Mm.
come off as capable all the time, no one's going to reach out because, like, oh, she's got it. She's got it. Well, if you're going to be
I know.
vulnerable, then they're going to realize, oh, wait, I can be there for her because she's sharing this hard thing with me. And
Hmm.
that's how you create this deep, meaningful relationship with somebody. Not sharing what's really going on just really does you no favors, honestly. I think my journey right now, too, is to be really forthright and honest. And when I'm struggling, I'll tell you because that's what I love about other people. Honestly, when I hear what they're struggling
Hmm.
with and they're really open and honest, they don't have a perfect life, they don't have it all figured out. I'm going to latch onto that person because I know they're being real with me. I know that's authentic. Nothing
Yeah.
drives me more crazy. And in this beginning part of a friendship when you get surface fluff the whole time. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, where's the deeper stuff here? What's going on? And
Yeah.
they never share that with you.
Yeah.
Like, you only can go so far. It's like hitting a roadblock all the time.
Hmm.
I think as women, the more real and authentic we are, the more we're going to find the people that we need. Because if we're just going to keep it all in and hide it, no one's going to know. And you're going to just keep
Yeah.
going through life as is. And
Yeah.
until we're really authentic and just share our crap, with each other, it's going to be the same old, same old. And so I'm
Hmm.
right there with you as far as community. I think we've all gone through, like you said, we've all gone through our shit. No one's life is perfect. We've all had the trauma, whether it's family or it's a college experience or whatever that you had. We've all had stuff. And until you share it and express it and ask for the help or just be real,
Hmm.
we're never going to have that community we want. I think everyone started getting out like over this whole scrolling through social and seeing these perfect lives and seeing this influencer superficial stuff. Like, I want to find the real people. And I have
Yeah.
found them online, but it's taken a lot to get there. And then I want to take it
Mm.
offline. It's going to be digital maybe first initially, and then we're going to go analog here in a second because I don't want to live on my phone. It takes
Yeah.
work. That's the hard thing too, is it does take a lot of work. But it's, I think,
Hmm.
work that's well worth it. at this point. So
Yeah. I love what you're building with the Odd Life. I
thank you.
think it's just such a great vision. Your vision for women in community is inspiring. I love it.
Yeah, thank you. I just want a space where people can feel like they've seen and heard. And I think in
Hmm.
your daily life, when you've gone through hard things, you find out who sticks around and who doesn't. It's a really lonely place. And if we have to find it online initially, then that's great. And eventually, as this gets bigger, I hope that people can find each other in daily life through this
Yeah.
community. So I appreciate you supporting it and hopefully being a part of it at some point. So I
Thank you.
appreciate that. It's so easy to just keep going on a path
Yeah.
that has the ruts already created for you. To
Yeah.
leave the path, create your own path is so courageous. And it's really,
Thank you.
really fucking hard. And I know
Uh,
that you went through so much to do that. So I'm really proud of you doing that for yourself and for your kids. And now here you are. And I get to meet you and talk to you about it all. So
oh,
I'm just excited for you for what's coming.
oh, thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much. That was really
Yeah.
kind of you to say. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks so much for listening. I hope you found this episode either helpful, inspiring, entertaining, or just made you feel less alone. Or maybe all of those things. If so, I'd love it if you'd share this episode with a friend, as well as on your social media. And if I dare ask for more, to rate and review the podcast on your favorite platform, especially Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You see, the more reviews we have, the more people we can reach, and the bigger the Odd Life community can become. You guys are the best. I can't wait to chat again next week, so we'll see you then.